Have you ever had something stolen from you? Not by thieves, but by people in suits claiming to represent the community. What would you do if your own land, the one you legally own, was taken over, fenced off, and turned into a luxury resort? And here's the real kicker. What if, instead of stopping them, you let them build everything and then sold it out from under them? For billions? Sounds impossible, right? Well, it happened to me, and I'm about to tell you how. You ever wake up to the sound of your own land being bulldozed by people who don't even own it? I did. It was a Tuesday morning. I looked out my window, and there it was. Cranes, workers, fencing, and a big shiny sign. Future site of Silver Grove Private Resort. Sponsored by the HOA. Now here's the thing. I never sold them my land. I never signed a lease. In fact, I had explicitly declined their offers twice. But they did it anyway. The Homeowners Association, the same group that fined me for leaving my trash can out 10 minutes too long, decided to seize my land. They said it was for community development, said it would benefit the neighborhood. But let me ask you this. Since when does community benefit involve breaking and entering, heavy machinery, and a blatant disregard for property rights? And that wasn't even the worst part. Because what they didn't know was that they picked the wrong guy to mess with. I didn't fight them in court. I didn't beg them to stop. No, I let them build their resort. And when they were done, I sold it out from under them. For billions. Stick around. You're going to want to see how I turned a violation into vengeance and made the HOA pay for every inch of stolen dirt. Moved into Millwood Estates 5 years ago. It was quiet, clean, overly landscaped, and strictly regulated by the HOA. You know the type. Color-coded mailboxes, lawn height rules, garage inspections, the usual suburban dictatorship. But I didn't mind. I kept to myself. Bought a plot of land that backed up to a private forest. 5 acres zoned for residential agricultural use. No building allowed without permission, and I had the only exemption. That land had been in my family for decades. It was more than property. It was legacy. And the HOA? They hated that. From day one, they were obsessed with incorporating my lot. They wanted uniformity, said it stuck out and complicated planning. I ignored them. But then came the letters, then the fines, then the surprise inspections. One morning I caught a board member measuring my fence with a tape measure, frowning like he found a war crime. You know, he said smugly, this land would be a great spot for a clubhouse or a pool. I laughed. Over my dead body. He smiled like he already had the shovel. That was the beginning. 2 weeks later, I noticed surveyor flags on the edge of my property. Then trees started disappearing, one by one. I called the HOA president. She told me it was routine maintenance. I said, on my land? She hung up. And that weekend, I woke up to bulldozers. They claimed eminent domain. But this wasn't government land. This was private, untouchable, and deed protected. Didn't stop them. They installed a temporary gate on my driveway. Security guards with walkie-talkies. Contractors in neon vests walking around like they owned the place. I tried calling the police, but the HOA had permits, fake ones. Forged documents claiming community ownership. I sued. The court date? Delayed, then delayed again. By the time the case got on the docket, construction was 50% complete. They built a parking lot, a tennis court, even a damn wellness center with a koi pond. And while all this happened, they fined me $9,200 for failing to cooperate. They actually claimed I owed them for resisting development. I remember standing at the edge of the resort one night, looking at the glowing spa lights and tiki torches, thinking, you people think you're clever. But they didn't know one thing. I owned the mineral rights. And the resort? It sat on a dormant geothermal vein my grandfather had surveyed 50 years ago, untapped, unclaimed, forgotten, except by me. Oh, and here's the best part. While they were building spas and wine lounges, I was getting certified. I partnered with a clean energy firm, had the land reappraised. They saw the geothermal potential. They offered to buy the entire property, resort included. I didn't say no, but I didn't say yes just yet. Because first, I had a plan. I waited until the HOA had their grand opening gala. It was a full circus, ribbons, cameras, speeches about green luxury. And I was there, front row, smiling. When the champagne flowed, I slipped away and met with the buyers. We signed the deal, on site. I now owned every building they had just constructed. And the geothermal company? They weren't buying it for hospitality. They were going to strip it down and install a power plant. The next day, I walked into the HOA meeting with a stack of papers. "Hello, everyone," I said. "Just thought you'd want to know your resort? It's been sold." Dead silence. Then gasps. I handed the president her final fine, marked void. Then I dropped the bomb. "You have 30 days to vacate. After that, it's restricted access. Radiation protocols." I made that part up. Just for fun. The security guards? Gone. The koi pond? Drained. The HOA board? Panicking. The next week, the trucks came. Demolition, surveying, drilling. The board tried to sue. "But remember those forged permits?" I reported them. Now they were under investigation for fraud, trespassing, and illegal land seizure. The final HOA meeting was sparsely attended. Most board members had resigned. 2 had been charged. The president? Facing felony counts for falsifying government documents. I walked into that room with a coffee and my deed framed under my arm. "You really built something beautiful," I told them. "Shame it wasn't yours." The geothermal plant went live 6 months later. Not only did I get a $1 billion deal, I negotiated royalties for the next 25 years. And the kicker, the HOA? Their budget collapsed. With the resort gone, they lost their main income source. Last I checked, they were begging homeowners to approve a special tax just to afford landscaping. I offered to chip in. Just kidding. I sent them a fruit basket with a card that read, "Next time, ask before you steal." They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Mine came with a $1 billion receipt and the slow grind of poetic justice. But here's the truth. You don't always have to scream to win. Sometimes the best response is no response, just action. They tried to bury me in fines, threats, and cement. I buried them in geothermal contracts. So here's my question to you. What would you have done if your land was stolen? Drop it in the comments. And if you made it to the end, comment, "Justice served." Because, oh boy, it was. Remember, never underestimate a quiet neighbor with a long memory. And a damn good lawyer. Like, comment, subscribe, and watch out for HOAs. They bite, but I bite back.